Welcome to Nasdaq Trade Talks. I'm Jill Malandrino, global markets reporter at Nasdaq. Joining us for this segment, we have Sudheesh Nair, CEO of ThoughtSpot, to discuss the opportunity for AI in the data and analytics space. Sudheesh, it's great to see you. Welcome back to Trade Talks.
Good to see you again, Jill. Thank you for having me.
You got it. And it's been a couple while since we spoke last. Tell us what you've been working on over the last few years.
Boy, it's been a couple of amazingly complex years. But first, if you talk about the first year, it was all about operational efficiency because macro was changing. We wanted to make sure that we are able to focus on growth while being very efficient on it. Last year, it's all about AI and large language models. And it's been a phenomenal time to do that.
It certainly has been. What are you seeing when it comes to AI adoption within the enterprise?
Look, enterprise is still sitting on the sidelines to some extent because it's been only 6 months since all this hype has taken off with ChatGPT. However, the generative pre-trained transformer, the transformer model that Google sort of wrote and gave it to open source, that happened almost 3.5, 4 years ago. So this technology has been brewing for quite some time. So the Silicon Valley bubble, the tech companies like us, we are doing some really cool things. But enterprise is cautiously watching, and some of them are sticking their neck out. But they all know that this is not one of those things that they can stay too far and too long to the sidelines. So they're very cautious and observing.
And it's interesting, though, because when we first spoke with ThoughtSpot, anyone can leverage natural language search and AI to find data insights and tap into different innovations that the cloud data ecosystem has to offer. So it sounds like it's an enhancement to, from the last time we spoke.
That's an important point. Look, it is depending on who you speak to, you can see that there will be two camps. All this AI tech is going to be just a fad. It'll come and go. And somebody else like that said, everything is done. No other jobs will ever be created. Everyone's job's gone. I think the truth is somewhere in between. What I mean by that is, if you really think about what AI can do, it is actually going to be really good at making sure that the intent of natural language is clearly articulated. ThoughtSpot, from the very beginning, had the point of view of making a fact-driven world, in the sense that anyone with a question should be able to find answers in the world of structured data without knowing SQL, without knowing semantic, without knowing database and warehouses. So in that sense, we always had the right point of view. What we did is there are two parts to this problem. The first one, Jill, is building a phenomenally complex backend that can take the intent and then deliver the precise answer. The first part, the other part is how do you extract the intent from the way we speak? And this is a really complex problem. So what ThoughtSpot did is take somewhat of a middle path. So for example, if you were to ask how hot is outside or how cold is outside, in language, hot and cold are opposite. But ultimately, you're going for the same precise answer, like what's the temperature outside? And a third person could ask that. We took a model where we use keywords that are natural language-ish. So we always had built the backend, and we sort of took the middle ground of building something that is natural language-ish to deliver the capabilities. As soon as GPT came out, we knew that this is going to be the difference maker for ThoughtSpot because it clearly aligns with our goals. We added in a very sophisticated way without compromising security governance. And today we are launching it as ThoughtSpot Sage. All of a sudden, you can ask any question in natural language. We'll extract the intent, compute the precise answer, deliver it, and use AI to start the journey of exploration.
So how is ThoughtSpot leveraging generative AI? How is it democratizing data to the masses?
We are doing it by doing three things. The first one, making it possible for people to speak, converse in a conversational style. That is, you ask a question, system understands the intent, creates the queries, brings the answers to you, then preserves the context so that it starts the next part of the question, which is where the second part comes in. We use AI to say, you ask me a question, Jill. So for example, you create content. You ask me how many people watched my last episode. That's a question that you asked. The system will come back and give you that precise answer. But underneath it, we'll use AI to say, hey, Jill, did you know that in New Jersey, there is 13% more women watched your last episode? Now, that's interesting because even though you didn't ask for it, the system understood that even though you asked what happened in the past, your ultimate intent is to improve the quality so you can get more people to watch your show. So understanding that intent and asking the question before you ask is the second thing we do. The third thing is we start that with real-time exploration across multiple data sources. So it'll probably say, for example, did you know there's a correlation between number of people who watch your show and weather? Even though you probably didn't think that it's probably something you should be asking, by bringing third-party data, the system will create a sort of a pattern. Now, it is not going to say every time it rains, Jill, your programs are going to be too watched. It's up to you to make those decisions. So it brings the human in the loop, but in conjunction with you, it is going to drive better outcomes. So those are three things that we do at a high level using generative AI.
Which is so interesting because sometimes people will access data sets that fit their narrative, or they will manipulate the data so that it satisfies their biases. It sounds as if as ChatGPT and generative AI matures, it can help to remove some of that bias versus finding different data sets or manipulating it so that it fits what you're trying to have as the outcome.
There are 2 points that you're bringing up, which is extremely important. The first one is most people are afraid of data, in the sense that they're much more comfortable with words and opinions, and data scares them. So that's number one, which means that they want to blame someone else. Number two, the world of numbers, it's always there's one precise answer, but it can be modified. Without context, it probably will be lost. The meaning will be lost. So those two things need to come together. And that's the second thing, that second part of it, bringing the numbers and structures without losing the context is a really hard thing to do. And that's why natural language is so important, because remember, for every one person with an idea, there will be hundreds of people with ideas but don't know how to express it. So bridging the gap between accessibility and expressibility. And that's where natural language is going to be such a powerful motivator. So we really think that we are at the precipice of something great. And we don't go after all the things that LLMs will solve for. But when it comes to structured data for enterprise analytics, we really have a point of view. And I think ThoughtSpot has the best architecture for it.
Sudheesh, tell us about ThoughtSpot's Beyond 2023, your annual user conference. Any interesting product that came out of there? Any themes that were discussed that were of note?
Yeah, so there are 5 different features we released with a couple of new products. I'll point out 2 of them. The first one is ThoughtSpot Sage, which is essentially speak to your computer, speak to your machine, and we will find the insight that you need to know by searching Snowflake or Databricks or whatever you may have, and come back with your answer and then start that conversation. That is Sage. Number 2, we've announced a partnership with Google, where we will connect with Google's, we have built our SaaS product on Google. We'll connect with Google BigQuery. And more importantly, we'll also connect with Google Looker to build modeling easier for customers using large language models. So for example, synonyms, if you in your company, you call all hands, in some other company, it's called town hall, maybe it means the same thing. I want to make sure that you combine those 2 things. So we use GPT for things like that. And the last feature is we are announcing a huge enhancement for ThoughtSpot Everywhere, which is our way of embedding insights. We don't want you to come to ThoughtSpot for your insight. We want to bring the insight to where you are. You're in Slack or Google Docs or Excel. Let's make sure that the insights that you're looking for are there when you need it. Because for the right action to happen, the right insight needs to get to you. It needs to get to you where you are. And ThoughtSpot Mobile, called Monitor, that is going to be a game changer in this side as well.
All right, Sudheesh, great to catch up with you as always. Thanks for joining us on Trade Talks. I'm Jill Malandrino, Global Markets Reporter at Nasdaq.
Thanks for having me.